Go again.
Hello everybody, Carolyn here from Diaries of a Business Owner, and today I am joined by Aaron Steer from Collective Wealth. Welcome.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good. Very happy.
Good. Well, thanks for joining us here today.
Happy to be here.
So today we're going to chat to Aaron about transferable skills from different industries. So Aaron, you've been in business for how long now?
With this business about 15 years, but in a previous life I did own and operate restaurants and food places, so hospitality was my thing back in the day, and I did that for probably another 15 years on top of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been a business owner for about 30 years now?
I haven't had a job, like an employed job, since I was 21, pretty much, so 22 or something like that. So I've worked for myself for all those years, yeah.
So that's a pretty young age to start out in business. What made you decide to have your own business from 22?
I just think I've always been a little bit gung-ho, rightly or wrongly, and an opportunity came along and I grabbed it, and didn't look back.
Okay, so what were the main lessons that you learned in hospitality and the skills that you developed that you were able to then use in the finance industry?
I think it's pretty well known, like kids have a job at Macca's, they understand how to interact with people, how to interact with customers, they understand processes and sticking to schedules and having responsibilities. And all that's true, and hospitality is very fast-paced, as you know, anyone who's worked in a bar or a restaurant. So it's fast-paced, you've got to be on the ball, you've got to be on time, you've got to keep a smile on your face, you're dealing with lots of different personalities. And I think those skills in particular are transferable to everyday life, every other business you can think of, and particularly in the financial planning profession as well.
Okay, no, that's some good tips there. So what made you change from hospitality to finance? Talk to me about that journey.
Hospitality's a young person's game. Weekends, public holidays, late nights, and I just found I was getting a bit worn down with it after that long. So I actually had an uncle who was in the financial planning profession. He said, "Why don't you come in and see what we do?" I did. I spent a week or two in there just hanging around and seeing how the business operates. And I thought, yep, that's for me. So I went back and did my study, and that was confronting. Haven't studied in a long time, and did that for a year or two, and then joined his business and learnt my teeth, or cut my teeth there, and then went out on my own pretty much straight away.
Okay, so it sounds like you had a bit of a mentor in your uncle coming into the finance industry.
Yeah.
And how important would you say that was for your change in industry?
I just think it gives you somebody that you can talk to and ask questions of, and someone you feel comfortable around, someone who's got your best interests at heart. That's another thing that's really important. But we talk all day about the importance of seeking advice, and doing something like that's no different. Talking to people about, well, what is this business all about? How do I get into it? What are some of the pros and cons of it all? So having him to be able to bounce all those questions and queries off, that was really helpful.
Fantastic. And so you said you went out on your own pretty quickly. How did that feel? So obviously you'd had your business experience for 15 years prior in hospitality.
Yeah.
And so you were just leveraging those pre-existing skills when you started your second business?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, getting into a professional services occupation is a lot different than hospitality. But there's a lot of legislation and compliance around what I do and what we do as a team. But I found the transition pretty smooth, because at the end of the day, it's a really personal occupation. My clients, I know a lot about them and they know a lot about me. So it's got to be personable. And those skills that I learnt in hospitality, managing people, dealing with customers, well, that's translated across to dealing with clients as well.
Fantastic. Now you touched on a very interesting point, and that's legislation.
Yeah.
So obviously there's not a huge amount of governing legislation in the hospitality industry,
no,
other than maybe your responsible service of alcohol and your liquor licensing act, am I right?
Yeah.
And then with the legislation around finance, it would be quite extensive, I would presume.
Yeah.
So how did you go about learning all of that?
We have to, as a licensed advisor, we're licensed with ASIC, and we have to do continuing professional development every year. So I have to do about 50 hours of study every year just to stay on top of legislation, compliance and other ethical areas and things like that. So I found the compliance piece to be pretty daunting at first, but it really is based around doing the right thing. So to dumb it down, if you do the right thing, then you're really not going to act outside those lines of legislation and compliance. That's really, as I said, that's a really basic level of it. But yeah, it's something you've got to stay on top of. It's very important.
Excellent. And what other things in the finance industry do you need to stay on top of?
Oh, obviously economic matters and investment matters. We're seeing a lot of development in processes and software come into play, like every industry is at the moment. AI is a huge topic at the moment, and how we can automate some of our processes to make it less onerous on us as a business. But I really think that staying on top of the legislation requirements, investment trends, and some of the issues that are affecting everyday mums and dads and pre-retirees in particular, because that's what we specialise in, is that people seeking pre-retirement advice and retirement advice. So understanding what's really important to them, cost of living, for example, everybody knows that that's increasing, and trying to help people with their budgeting and cash flow, that's a really important part of what we do. So just understanding what's going on out in the big wide world is probably half the battle won.
Yeah, so understanding your market and being an expert in your field.
Yeah.
That's some pretty good advice.
And try not to be everything to all people. We really cater to, we do cater to people on a broad basis, but we really specialise or lend the most value in a specific area. And that's that pre-retiree strategic planning.
I like that. So have cast a wide net, but also have that niche that you specialise in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Now, you touched on before that there's a bit of a changing landscape in your industry with AI coming into the fold. How does that, is it a positive impact or a negative impact on your team, do you think? Like, do they have a sense of panic that maybe their jobs are going to be replaced, or is it more of a help?
Yeah, it's definitely a positive thing. I think that these changes are going to happen. You need to embrace them, and we need to run with them. I think that if you plan on staying the same business without embracing these changes, then you're not going to last very long. So we're always on the lookout for something that'll improve our processes, something that'll make life easier for my team, and something that'll enhance the client outcome as well. So we're using dedicated client portals, for example. So there's no more emailing of sensitive information, because as we know, there's scammers out there and emails get hacked. So we've set up individual client portals for all our clients, and it's all banking encryption, and we'll upload documents into that portal and they'll access documents from that portal. So it's all kept nice and safe, and that's a technical advancement that we've recently had access to. So that's made a real positive change, not just from a client experience, but from a security point as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's some pretty good advice too. So obviously, adapt or die is one of the mottos in business.
It's huge. Yeah, absolutely.
And so AI is really just assisting your business at the moment to adapt, it sounds like.
I think so. It can make life easier. It can be a little bit overwhelming because there's a hell of a lot of stuff out there.
Yes.
And once again, you can't be across everything. So seeking advice from an IT specialist, for example. This is our issue. Is there software or IT systems out there that can help us with that? Can we automate that? Can we make this process better, easier, using what's in the marketplace at the moment? So that all helps.
So that's really good advice as well. So you're saying, when in doubt, reach out to other people out there that specialise in these areas of innovation and just ask them their advice, how that can improve your services for your team and your clients.
100%. We don't know everything. We don't pretend to. So if there's areas that we don't know something about that we think we need to know more about, we're going to reach out.
Oh, that's really good advice. Now we're actually sitting in front of your team as well. They're a little bit, they're behind us. Talk to me about the importance of having the right team around you.
Look, people are everything, and I make a joke about my business motto, surrounding myself with people who are cleverer than me, and I've done a really good job of that because, If you're the smartest in the room, it's the wrong room.
Yes.
So having those people I can rely on. Something someone told me a long time ago that sticks with me is be slow to hire, be quick to fire. And, taking your time to onboard the right people. And if those people aren't ticking the boxes and it's affecting the other ones, get rid of them sooner rather than later. Move on, that's not the right person. Take your time, bring the right people in. So that's been a lesson that I learned very early. It goes back to the hospitality days. You've got to have the right team around you, and no different here. And I would say no different in your business,
Yes.
and no different in most businesses.
So you've been in business for 30 years now, and
yeah.
Where do you see yourself in another 10? Is it still owning your own business?
I think I'd be a terrible employee. I'd get fired the first day I was on the job. So I think, yes, I'll still be in business in some way, shape or form. I'm really enjoying, as the business grows, taking on more of a general manager role and working on the business, having some time and some staff around me to get my head out of the weeds and be able to oversee the business a bit more, really concentrate on a bit of business growth. But I also really love the client interaction as well. That's where I started. So I've got a core group of clients that I deal with and I love dearly. It's a great job.
I love that. And you touched on something that a lot of business owners work to achieve, and that's going from doing a lot of the face-to-face groundwork to being able to work on the business. And you're talking about growth there as well. So how long did it take you, to get to a point where you could work more on the business than in the business?
Look, it's probably only been the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years that I've really been able to, probably 3 years, that I've been able to step back a little bit and start working on the business. And that's about getting the right people into the business that can take on that workload. Like every other business owner and startup and every business out there, the early years are just a hard slog.
Yeah.
It's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's always on your mind. But if you stick to your processes and you surround yourself with good people and you seek advice from people who know more than you, then you'll get there. You'll get there and you'll be able to take that higher level view eventually.
That's some pretty good advice. So basically just stick it out, surround yourself with a good team, get the right advice, and just keep going and you will get there.
Absolutely. And be authentic. There's no use being disingenuous. You'll get found out really quickly. So things like this, if I'm acting a totally different way to what I really am, people will come in and they'll pick up on that pretty quickly, and it won't be a long-lasting relationship, that's for sure. So when you're marketing your business, you're branding your business, you're getting the right people in, be authentic to the type of business that you want to be. There's no use pretending otherwise.
Completely agree. Authenticity really breeds building rapport very quickly.
It becomes an easy growth process then.
Yes, definitely.
Because you're just being yourself.
And you've spoken about growth twice now. So what are the plans for Collective Wealth over the next, do you have a 5-year plan or a 12-month plan?
Yeah, we do. At the moment, we're just enjoying the growth process, the trajectory that we're on at the moment. And luckily enough, we're getting some lovely clients referring other lovely clients to us, and that's the best way to grow a business. But yeah, we certainly have some growth plans, whether that be branching out into some other services, maybe, not just financial planning. We've got a really good relationship with some accountants and some solicitors and lawyers, and they refer clients to us as well. So for the moment, we're really committed to our 2 locations, that being Brisbane and Ipswich. We've been in Ipswich now for in this office for about 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
So we're quite entrenched and we're loving it out here.
That's fantastic. Awesome. So look, there might be people that are watching this podcast or listening to it today that are considering either an industry change or maybe they've been in business for a little bit and they're looking on how they're going to change so that they can continue growing in the market. What advice would you give to those 2 people?
In relation to growth, growth for growth's sake's not what you want to do. You just don't want to become the biggest if you can't sustain that, or if your margins are really poor just to take on more revenue. I think that staged growth is really important, and having a really clear idea about what stage 1, 2, 3 and 4 look like. Talk to your accountant in business. Talk to them about a business plan. Talk to people who have been there and done that. Talk to people in your current field who you aspire to be like. People are really generous with their time, and normally all it takes is someone to say, hey, do you mind if I share you a cup of coffee, pick your brain about a couple of topics, and see if they can lend a little bit of value back. And it generally works.
Yeah.
People are happy to sit down and share their experiences.
Especially for coffee.
Even better, wine. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. And what about the person that's looking at, they're currently in an industry, maybe they're a little bit stagnant and they've got an idea of, venturing into a different industry. What advice would you give that person?
So a completely different industry?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's a big call. But if you're not passionate about what you're doing at the moment, then you've got to question whether there's, you want to keep going down that path. And if you are wanting to cross and go into other industries, then like I said before, I think doing your homework, doing your research, understanding your market, understanding what the business entails, what your clients look like, understand what your ideal client is and target that. Really, really important.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Aaron.
Thank you.
It's been some amazing content that we've shared today. So I really appreciate an insight into the 30 years of business ownership that you've had.
I'm too old.
Not at all. You're just starting. And to everybody out there, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Diaries of a Business Owner. And until next time, have a good day.
Thank you.